All right, coaches. So you guys sent in some awesome notes from the 2025 Notre Dame Men's Lacrosse Coaching Clinic.
Yeah.
And wow, Coach Corrigan and Coach Wojcik, they just dropped so much knowledge. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
So we're going to take a deep dive into those notes and really try to pull out those key principles and practical tips that can help you build a youth program that doesn't just, win some games here and there,
Right.
but develops young men who are ready to ball out at that high school level
Yeah, that's
and beyond. Right.
Absolutely, because we're talking, K through 8 here,
Yeah.
the foundation, and it's so important as youth coaches to set them up for success later.
Absolutely. And Coach Corrigan, he really emphasized this idea of creating the, quote, best experience in context, unquote,
Yeah.
for your players. So it's not just about winning at all costs, right?
Right. I mean, winning is great.
Yeah, of course. We all want to win.
But it's about so much more than that at this level.
Yeah.
It's about building a program that those kids, they're excited to be a part of, where
Right.
they learn those fundamental skills, absolutely,
Yeah.
but also build character and a love for the game.
For sure.
That's what sets them up for long-term success.
It's so true. And you know what? Coach Corrigan had a great line about that.
What was that?
He said, quote, "Nobody cares what you know until they know that you care," unquote.
Oh, that's so true.
And I think that really speaks to the importance of building those genuine relationships with your players.
Mm-hmm.
They need to know you're invested in them, not just as, athletes out there on the field,
Right. They need to know you care.
but as young men, that you're there to support them, guide them, help them grow.
Absolutely. That kind of connection can make all the difference.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it makes those tough conversations a little bit easier too.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because Coach Corrigan also talked about, the importance of setting clear standards for your program.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not talking about being a dictator or anything,
Right.
but just making sure those kids understand the expectations.
Exactly. It's about accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Showing up on time, having the right equipment,
Yeah.
putting in the effort,
Being a good teammate.
treating their teammates with respect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the things that build a strong team culture.
For sure.
And those habits, they'll serve them well no matter where they go in life.
100%. And he was very specific about, not just being a drill sergeant or a pushover, but finding that balance, which is tough.
Yeah.
As a youth coach, I know I've definitely struggled with that at times.
It's a constant learning process for sure.
Yeah.
And one thing Coach Corrigan emphasized that really resonated with me was this idea of energy management.
Okay.
And we've all seen those coaches,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe we've even been those coaches
Yeah, sure.
who run those kids into the ground.
Yeah.
But he cautions against the, quote unquote, grind mentality.
Right.
He says, remember, lacrosse should be fun.
I love it when he said that.
It's easy to get caught up in the competitive side of things.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, we want these kids to love the game.
Exactly.
And if we burn them out at a young age,
Yeah.
they're not going to stick with it.
They won't.
So how do we keep it fun while still challenging them and preparing them for the next level?
Right.
That's the million-dollar question.
That is. And Coach Corrigan actually gave some pretty practical tips on that.
Okay.
He talked about, varying the pace of practice,
Yeah.
incorporating like fun games and competitions, and
Right.
even, giving the kids a break every now and then.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes that break is as much for the coaches as it is for the players.
Oh, absolutely.
You all need to recharge
Yeah, I got to recharge those batteries.
and come back with fresh energy.
For sure.
Okay, so we've got this strong foundation from Coach Corrigan.
Okay.
But now let's get into the X's and O's a little bit.
All right.
Coach Wojcik, he broke down his offensive philosophy into 5 key principles.
Okay, I'm ready.
Are you ready for this?
Hit me.
All right. Possession, spacing,
Got it.
simplicity, deception,
Yeah.
and shooting.
That's a great framework for thinking about offense, especially at the youth level.
Yeah, for sure.
You're not going to be running complex plays with kindergartners, but you can start to instill those core principles.
Absolutely. And one thing he really hammered home was the importance of spacing.
Yeah.
And, how many times have you seen a bunch of kids all bunched up together on offense,
Oh, all the time.
making it easy for one defender to cover it all?
All the time. It's like they're drawn to each other like magnets.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like they all want to be in the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
But Coach Wojcik uses this drill called the 4v3 continuous fast break
Yep.
to really drill that spacing concept into his players.
Yeah, can you break that down a bit for our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who might not be familiar with that particular drill, it's basically a continuous flow drill
Yeah.
where you've got 4 offensive players attacking 3 defenders on a fast break.
Right.
And the focus is really on maintaining that proper spacing,
Okay.
supporting the ball carrier,
Yeah.
creating passing lanes.
For sure.
And it really forces those players to be aware of their positioning
Right.
and to move in sync with each other.
Yeah.
It's great for building those fundamental offensive instincts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like that it's fast-paced and keeps the kids engaged.
Keeps them moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of engaging, Coach Wojcik also talked about the importance of deception, which I thought was really interesting,
Yeah.
especially at the youth level.
Yeah.
It's not just about, fancy stick fakes.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about using your eyes, your body language,
Right.
your positioning to manipulate the defense.
It's all about manipulating the defense. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
Teaching those kids to kind of read the room, so to speak.
Yeah. Read the
To anticipate the defender's movements and to create those scoring opportunities.
Right.
He actually had a great analogy.
Oh, what's that?
He compared lacrosse players to organisms in their environment,
Oh, wow.
constantly adapting and responding to their surroundings.
I like that.
It's almost like a chess match out there.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And that's why those 2v1, 3v2 drills that Coach Corrigan mentioned are so important.
Yes.
They force those young players to make decisions under pressure,
Mm.
to read the defense, and to execute those fundamental skills in a game-like situation.
Exactly. So it all ties back to those core offensive principles, right?
Yeah.
Possession, spacing, simplicity, deception.
Absolutely.
We're building those foundational skills that will pay off down the road.
100%.
Now, let's not forget about shooting.
Oh, yeah?
Coach Wojcik, he's a huge advocate for creating a culture where players are excited and confident to shoot the ball.
Right. Gotta shoot to score.
You got to shoot to score.
Yeah.
And he even said that, quote, "The most effective shot is not always the textbook shot," unquote.
Interesting.
What do you make of that?
I think he's challenging us to think outside the box a little bit.
Okay.
It's not about forcing every kid into the same mold, right? It's
Yeah.
about helping them develop their own shooting style,
Yeah.
their own unique way of finding the back of the net.
I like that.
Yeah, he made a great point about how a fundamental is really any move that's effective.
Yeah?
So if a player's behind the back shot is consistently going in, who are we to say it's not a fundamental for them?
Exactly.
It's about encouraging individuality and
Mhm.
helping those players discover their strengths.
I love that. It's about empowering them
Yeah,
to be creative, to experiment, and to find what works best for them.
exactly.
And that's definitely something we can start fostering at the youth level.
Absolutely. And it builds confidence, too.
Yes.
When a kid knows he can score from different angles with different techniques, he's not going to hesitate to pull the trigger when the opportunity arises.
Exactly, and that's what we want.
Yeah, you got to...
We want those kids to be fearless,
Yes,
to trust their instincts, and to have the confidence to make plays.
that's it.
Now, let's shift gears a little bit and get into some specific game scenarios that both coaches discussed.
Okay, I'm ready.
So we're going to explore their insights on managing those crucial moments that can make or break a game.
All right, bring it on.
All right, so we're talking about man-up situations,
Okay.
end-of-quarter decision-making,
Mm-hmm.
the value of riding,
Got it. Yeah.
and effective timeout management.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
This is where it gets real, folks.
Shall we?
Buckle up.
Hey,
We're diving in.
Let's go. Welcome back, coaches. So we left off talking about those high-pressure game situations.
Yeah, those moments that can really make or break a game.
Absolutely. Let's start with man-up scenarios.
Okay.
Coach Wojcik had some interesting advice if your unit's struggling to score.
Yeah, he really emphasized spacing,
Mm-hmm.
which we already touched on a bit.
Yeah, it all comes back to that, right?
Yeah, instead of trying to force those quick plays, he really suggested prioritizing ball movement and making that defense work.
Here you've got the man advantage. There's
Yeah.
no need to rush.
Right.
Make them adjust, find the open man, and take those high-percentage shots.
Exactly. But Coach Corrigan, he also stressed, preparing for different defenses,
Mm-hmm.
especially at the youth level.
Yeah.
You might see some funky junk defenses thrown at you when you got that man-up advantage.
That's a great point. You can't just assume it's going to be a standard look.
Right.
Maybe they slide early. Maybe
Yeah.
they double team your best player.
Yeah.
Practicing against those different looks will give your kids the confidence to adapt in those situations.
Absolutely. And speaking of, making decisions under pressure, let's talk about those end-of-quarter situations.
Okay. Yeah.
Coach Corrigan presented this scenario. Tie game, 2 minutes left.
Mm.
He's advocating for like a conservative approach,
Yeah.
prioritizing possession over a risky play.
I can see where it's coming from there. A turnover that could easily give the other team a chance to score and just swing the momentum.
Right. Yeah, one mistake and that could be it.
But he also acknowledged that there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
You know, the score, the time remaining, your team's strengths,
For sure.
all of those factors play a role.
Exactly.
Right? If you've got a dominant face-off guy
Yeah.
and a high-powered offense,
Yeah.
you might be more inclined to push for that score knowing you can likely get the ball back,
Yeah.
even if the first attempt doesn't work.
Exactly. So it's really evaluating the situation, weighing those risks and rewards,
Mm-hmm.
making that smart decision.
Absolutely. And that's a great lesson for us as coaches,
Yeah.
and one that we can start teaching our players early on.
For sure. For sure. Now let's tackle this writing debate.
Okay, yeah.
Is it worth the effort?
This is a good one.
Especially with limited practice time at the youth level?
Yeah, that's always a concern.
Coach Corrigan, he seems to think so.
Hmm.
He's a strong advocate for writing.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about how it creates turnovers, wears down your opponents.
Yeah, all those benefits.
That can even have that psychological impact.
Right. Yeah, it can definitely demoralize the other team.
Yeah, but I'm honestly kind of on the fence about this one.
Okay, I hear you.
Yes, those extra possessions can be, game changers,
Yeah.
but I also worry about exhausting our kids, especially those younger ones.
Yeah, you don't want to burn them out.
Right, and if we're spending all of our practice time on writing,
Mm-hmm.
are we sacrificing other important skills?
That's a valid concern. It's all about finding that balance, right?
Right.
Maybe we don't need to go full field press with our kindergartners,
Yeah.
but we can start teaching them the basic principles of writing and build on that as they get older.
I like that. Like a graduated approach.
Exactly.
Yeah, start with the fundamentals
Mm.
and then gradually increase that intensity and complexity
Yeah.
as their skills and their condition improve.
As they grow, for sure.
All right, last game situation, we're getting to
Okay.
timeouts.
Yeah, this is a big one.
Coach Corrigan was adamant about using those effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about drawing up a play.
Right. There's so much more to it.
He talked about organizing the huddle,
Yeah.
making sure everyone can see, everyone can hear,
Mm.
ensuring your assistants are all aligned on those key messages.
Clear communication, even in those high pressure moments.
Clear communication, yes, it's so important. And it goes beyond just what happens in the huddle, right?
Right.
He believes in prepping for those scenarios beforehand,
Oh, okay. I like.
talking through those situations with your staff,
Yeah.
assigning roles, maybe even having some predetermined plays or adjustments ready to go.
That way, when that timeout's called,
Yeah.
everyone knows their role. The message is consistent.
It's about being prepared
Mm-hmm.
and projecting that calm confidence, which can definitely rub off on your players.
Absolutely, and it's going to help you as a coach, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, shifting gears a bit,
Okay.
let's talk about player development.
Right.
Coach Corrigan had some interesting thoughts about teaching those young players to play with their, quote, heads up, not just sticks down, unquote.
I love that it's so easy to get caught up in those stick skills at the youth level,
Yeah.
but teaching them to see the field, anticipate, make decisions, that's huge.
It really is. And he actually suggested, spending a good chunk of your practice time working on 2-on-1s and 3-on-2s.
Oh, yeah, those are so fundamental.
Yeah.
They force those kids to think, to react, to communicate.
Mhm.
It's like those building blocks of the game that
Yeah.
they'll need as they progress.
And it's something you can start introducing, at a very young age.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if they're just learning to, cradle the ball.
Right.
You can set up those little mini games that encourage them to look up, see their teammates,
Mm.
make those simple decisions.
Yep.
He's got that long-term vision, right?
He does.
Setting them up for success in high
Yeah.
school and beyond.
And it goes beyond just X's and O's.
Right.
He's a big believer in letting leadership emerge organically, not forcing roles onto kids.
I like that. It's about creating that environment where those leaders naturally rise to the top,
You got it.
where they feel empowered to step up and take ownership.
Right. And that starts with those strong relationships, clear communication, and those high standards we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it's about building a culture
Yeah.
where those kids feel connected to their
solve.
teammates and the mission of the program. And he specifically called out those negative behaviors
Okay. Yeah.
that can really poison a team.
Yeah. You got to watch out for that.
Complaining, negativity, that just spreads like wildfire.
It does.
He's big on addressing it directly. encouraging those kids to focus on solutions instead.
Right, so it's creating that culture of accountability,
Yeah.
teaching them to address issues head on,
Yeah.
support their teammates,
Mm-hmm.
and work together to find those solutions.
That's a life skill right there.
It is, absolutely.
We've talked a lot about, winning, but what about those tough losses?
Oh, yeah, you got to address those.
They're inevitable,
They are.
especially at the youth level.
Especially at that level, yeah.
Coach Corrigan actually had some pretty insightful advice
Okay.
on handling those post-loss moments.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what he had to say about this.
He's a big believer in honesty,
Okay.
not sugarcoating things, acknowledging mistakes,
Mm,
and using those losses as learning opportunities.
I like that.
He actually said, quote, "Ego is the enemy," unquote.
Mm.
It's not about being afraid to critique performance,
Yeah.
even after a loss,
Mm-hmm.
but doing it in a constructive way,
Yeah.
focused on growth.
Right, and that's a tough one.
It is.
It's easy to get emotional after a tough loss,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
but we need to, model that level-headed approach
Yeah.
for our kids.
Yeah,
Focus on the process, not just the outcome.
exactly. And he actually gave a great example.
Oh, what was that?
He said, quote, "I've never gone into a locker room after a game and said, you know what, guys, we just didn't want it bad enough.
Right.
Because that's not the reason we lost.
Yeah, it's rarely that simple.
It's not.
Right.
It's about identifying those specific areas where they can improve, whether it's fundamentals, decision-making, or even just, effort.
Right, you got to break it down.
Yeah.
And then coming up with a plan to address those areas in practice.
It's about turning those losses into fuel for growth, right?
Yeah, so good.
Keeping that positive,
Yes.
forward-thinking mentality.
100%.
Now let's tackle a real challenge
Yeah.
for youth coaches,
Okay, hit me.
managing those vastly different skill levels.
Oh, yeah, this is a tough one.
You've got, kindergartners just figuring out how to hold a stick alongside 8th graders who are, already dreaming of high school tryouts
And everything in between.
and everything in between. Yeah, it's a wide range.
That's a tough one, but Coach Corrigan, he views it as an opportunity
Okay.
to foster mentorship and support within the team.
I like that. I like that perspective.
Mm.
He talked about like tailoring his practice plans
Yeah.
to cater to those different
Yeah.
levels.
Got to meet them where they're at.
Exactly. So maybe the more experienced players are working on like advanced dodging techniques, while the younger ones are focusing on just cradling and passing.
Right, those fundamentals. Yeah.
And being transparent with the kids about why you're doing that.
Yeah.
Explaining the reasoning behind those different drills
Mm.
and how it all ties into their individual development.
Right, so they understand the bigger picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And he encourages those older players to mentor the younger ones,
Oh, yeah.
which is a win-win, right?
Jackson Lee.
The younger kids get that extra help,
Mm.
and the older kids develop those leadership skills and learn to explain those concepts.
They're teaching and reinforcing their own knowledge.
Exactly. It creates a real sense of team unity, too.
Absolutely.
Everyone has a role to play.
Mm.
Everyone is contributing to the overall success.
100%. Now, this next topic is something I feel strongly about.
Okay.
It's multi-sport athletes.
Okay.
In this era of specialization,
Yeah.
it's so important to encourage kids to play different sports.
Coach Corrigan completely agrees with you.
Oh, good.
He's a huge advocate for it.
Awesome.
He talked about how it develops, a wider range of athletic skills.
Right.
It reduces the risk of overuse injuries,
For sure.
and it exposes them to, different coaching styles, different team dynamics.
Right. Different environments, different challenges.
Exactly. And plus those kids who excel in multiple sports often have those like intangible qualities
Oh, yeah.
that translate so well to lacrosse.
Mm-mm.
That competitiveness, work ethic, adaptability. Absolutely.
They bring that to the field.
They do. And he shared a story about how some of his most successful players weren't always the superstars on their other teams. They had to learn to adapt, to work hard,
Yeah.
and to contribute in different ways.
Mm.
And those experiences made them more well-rounded
Yeah.
and resilient athletes.
They've been through it all, right?
They have. And those are the kids who are going to thrive in those high-pressure situations.
Yeah.
They've learned to embrace challenges and to persevere.
And that's what we want.
That's what we want. Exactly.
Now, I know we're running a bit long here, but
That's
we can't wrap up this conversation without talking about motivation.
Yeah, that's huge.
How do we keep those kids, engaged, enthusiastic, and
Yeah.
striving for improvement?
It's a constant battle.
It is.
Coach Corrigan believes it goes back to those strong relationships.
Yeah.
When those kids feel valued and connected,
Mm-hmm.
they're naturally more motivated.
To work hard and contribute to the team's success.
Creating that positive, supportive environment
Yeah.
where they feel comfortable taking risks and making mistakes.
Right. And celebrating those successes,
Yeah,
big and small.
for sure.
And making sure they know that we're there to support them every step of the way.
Yeah, he's big on those individual moments too.
Okay.
Maybe pulling a kid aside after practice, reviewing some film with them,
Mm-hmm.
offering some specific feedback on areas where they can improve.
It's those personal connections
Yeah.
that make a difference.
They really do.
It's showing them you care, you believe in them,
Mm-hmm.
that you're invested in their development.
Absolutely. And he also talked about the importance of setting individual goals with each player,
Right. Yeah.
helping them identify those areas they want to improve,
Mm-hmm.
and then creating a plan to achieve those goals.
It's about empowering them to take control of their lacrosse journey,
Yes,
giving them that ownership over their development.
exactly.
Yeah.
And recognizing that, every kid is different.
Oh, yeah, for
They're motivated by different things.
Absolutely.
What works for one player might not work for another.
100%. So it's about being adaptable as coaches.
Yeah.
Figuring out what makes each kid tick
Right.
and tailoring our approach accordingly.
Exactly. Speaking of adapting,
Okay.
let's talk about practice planning.
Right.
Coach Corrigan was pretty open about his process
Mm-hmm.
and how it's evolved over time.
Yeah. He's been doing this a while, so I'm sure he's learned a lot.
He has. He said he used to be all about having that detailed plan
Okay.
finalized hours in advance.
Yeah.
But he realized he was missing those teachable moments
Yeah.
that emerged during practice.
Mm-hmm.
So now he prefers to kind of like review the film from the previous day,
Okay.
letting those observations inform his planning.
So it's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between structure and flexibility.
Exactly. Having that roadmap, but being willing to adjust
Mm.
based on the team's energy, the weather,
Yeah.
or any other curveballs that come your way.
Right, because those always happen,
They do.
especially with youth lacrosse.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, all the time. And he also stressed the importance of communicating that plan,
Okay.
not just to, his assistants,
Mhm.
but to the players as well.
Yeah, get everyone on the same page.
Taking a few minutes to explain the day's goals, outlining the drills, highlighting those key concepts.
So they understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Exactly. It's about keeping everyone engaged and invested, making sure they understand the why behind the what.
I like that.
And that brings us to another key element of a successful program,
Okay.
developing those young assistant coaches.
Yeah, those are the future of the game.
Coach Corrigan has a very specific approach to mentoring and empowering those who are just starting their coaching journeys.
Yeah, I'm really interested to hear about this because I'm actually thinking about getting into coaching myself.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so this is really relevant for me.
He's all about giving them opportunities to lead,
Okay.
to experiment,
Mhm.
to find their own voice,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's, running drills,
Yeah.
leading a film session, or even contributing to the game plan.
Right, giving them real responsibility.
He recognizes that, everyone has their own coaching style,
Yeah, for sure.
their own strengths,
Mm-hmm.
and he encourages them to embrace that.
It's about finding what works for you.
And he's not just, throwing them into the deep end.
Right.
He's there to provide feedback, offer advice,
Mm-hmm.
and create that collaborative environment
Yeah.
where everyone feels comfortable sharing ideas.
That's so important.
It is. It's about building that culture of continuous learning.
Right.
Everyone's striving to improve, to expand their knowledge base,
Mm-hmm.
and to become the best coaches they can be.
Absolutely. And he even talked about assigning assistants to specific groups of players, maybe focusing on a particular skill or concept.
Right. Yeah. Giving them that ownership,
Mm-hmm.
allowing them to develop their expertise and,
Yeah.
and building their confidence.
That's huge. It's not just beneficial for the program.
Right.
It's an investment in the future of the sport.
It really is.
We need those young coaches
Yeah.
to be prepared, to be passionate, to carry the torch.
Absolutely. Now, before we move on,
Okay.
I want to circle back to something Coach Corrigan said that really struck me.
Okay, what was that?
He mentioned that, quote, "The great thing about lacrosse is that there's no future in it," unquote.
That's an interesting statement.
What do you think he meant by that?
I think he was highlighting the importance of preparing those kids for life beyond the game.
Okay.
Yes, some of them might go on to play in college, maybe even professionally,
Yeah.
but for most, lacrosse is a chapter. not the whole story.
And it's about developing those young men holistically,
Yeah.
not just as athletes.
Right? Instilling those values of
Yeah.
hard work, dedication, teamwork, leadership, sportsmanship.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that will serve them well
Yeah.
no matter what path they choose.
It's a powerful message.
Is,
and, and I think as youth coaches,
Yeah.
we have a responsibility that extends far beyond the lacrosse field.
We do.
We have the opportunity
Yeah.
to make a real difference in these kids' lives.
Absolutely. And that's something we should never take for granted.
Never take for granted. We've covered a ton of ground already, from building those relationships to mastering those offensive principles to really instilling those values and getting our kids ready for high school and beyond.
Absolutely.
But there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to discuss, and it's something that can really make or break a team:
Okay. What's that?
chemistry.
Oh, yeah. Team chemistry.
Coach Corrigan, he had an interesting take on this.
Okay.
He doesn't believe in like forcing team chemistry,
Mm-hmm.
but he definitely cultivates it. And it goes back to, that positive and supportive environment we talked about earlier.
Yeah. Creating that culture.
He encourages those kids to connect,
Mm-hmm.
not just as teammates, but as friends.
Right. Build those bonds.
And he even shared that sometimes, his assistant coaches get a little too fired up
Oh, yeah.
during those
Yeah.
competitive practice drills.
It happens.
It happens. It's all in good fun.
Yeah.
But he keeps a close eye on things
Mm.
to make sure it doesn't, cross the line
Right.
and become negative or divisive.
Yeah. You got to maintain that balance.
It's a good point. We need to model that respectful behavior,
Mm-hmm.
even in the heat of competition,
Absolutely.
especially with those younger age groups.
Yeah. They're watching our every move.
They are.
For sure.
They're little sponges
Yeah.
sucking it all up. So
Absolutely.
we got to be careful. And he also talked about the importance of, recruiting the right kind of players.
Oh, yeah. That makes a big difference.
It's not just about talent, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about character.
Right. The whole package.
He wants kids who are humble, hardworking,
Yeah.
and committed to the team's success.
Those are the kids you want.
And he actually said he loves watching those games where the score is like lopsided
Okay.
in the final minutes,
Yeah.
because it's in those moments
Yeah.
that you see which players are still giving it their all,
Right.
regardless of the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the kids who understand that it's not just about winning or losing.
Yeah.
It's about representing your team with pride
For sure.
and giving your best effort every single time you step on the field.
100%.
And those are the kids who are going to make a positive impact on your program,
Absolutely.
both on and off the field.
On and off the field. Yeah.
Now, I want to circle back to that idea of no future in lacrosse
Okay.
that Coach Corrigan mentioned.
Hmm.
It's such a thought-provoking statement.
It is.
And he's not saying that lacrosse is a dead end or anything,
Right.
but he's challenging us
Mm-hmm.
to think beyond wins and losses,
Yeah.
college scholarships, even professional careers.
Right. The bigger picture.
He's reminding us that we're developing young men,
Yes.
not just lacrosse players.
100%. And that means preparing them for life beyond the sport,
Yeah.
equipping them with those skills and values
Yeah.
that will help them succeed
Yeah.
in all areas of their lives.
And those are the things that will truly make a difference in the long run.
Absolutely.
The ability to work hard,
Mm-hmm.
to persevere, to overcome challenges,
Yeah.
to be a good teammate, a good leader,
Right.
a good person.
Those are the qualities
Yeah.
that will make them successful in the classroom, in their future careers
Mm-hmm.
as contributing members of society.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
And one that I think, all youth coaches need to hear.
For sure.
We have a tremendous responsibility to these kids. And it goes far beyond teaching them how to, pass, catch, and shoot.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's reflect on those key takeaways
Mhm.
from Coach Corrigan and Coach Woodchick.
Yeah.
It's about building a program that goes beyond wins and losses,
Yeah.
a program that develops
Mhm.
not just great lacrosse players,
Mm.
but exceptional young men who are
Yes.
prepared to make a positive impact on the world.
I love that.
It's about fostering a culture of excellence
Mm-hmm.
built on those strong relationships, those clear standards,
Yeah.
and a holistic approach to player development.
It's about empowering your players to become leaders,
Mm-hmm.
to embrace challenges, to learn from their mistakes,
Yeah.
and to strive for continuous improvement.
And it's about remembering that our role as coaches extends far beyond the lacrosse field.
It does.
We have the privilege of shaping these young lives.
Yeah.
And we have the responsibility to guide them on their journey to becoming, yes, not just great lacrosse players,
Mm.
but great human beings.
So well said.
Take these insights, coaches,
Yeah.
and apply them to your own programs.
Mm.
Create that environment where your players can thrive,
Yeah.
both on and off the field.
On and off the
Build
field.
that legacy of
Yeah.
excellence
Yeah.
that will extend
Yeah.
far beyond the final whistle.
That's a wrap for this deep dive. Until next time, coaches,
Yeah.
keep learning, keep growing,
Mm-hmm.
and keep inspiring those young athletes in your care.
We'll see you next time, coaches.